All right. So yesterday I recorded a video on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and to say that I wasn't satisfied with the ultimate video was a bit of I would say that's an understatement. The production in the audio was not quite what I wanted it to be. I felt like I kept repeating myself over and over again about certain aspects, and I feel like I didn't really quite have all the functional pieces and parts of equipment and attachments that I wanted. And so today I got all of that stuff in from Amazon. So I want to kind of take a take two, you know, for my review on the Osmo Pocket 3. And yeah, so this is my setup. So this is the functional way that I will end up using the Osmo Pocket 3. And yesterday I talked about the small rig cage and how it needed the extended battery grip and kind of all these little pieces for it to work, and I didn't have that, and so it didn't fit right, and I couldn't screw it into the bottom or anything like that. And so today I got the extended battery grip and I put it on and I screwed it in, and it's extremely snug and fits in so well. And I'm so incredibly pleased and surprised at how good I think this feels as far as the cage and everything goes. The other side is the two handles that I think is really awesome. So this is the small rig mini handle and the small rig mini NATO handle. This one is obviously screwed directly into the cage and won't actually come off. I mean, it can, obviously, but I tightened those screws pretty tight, so I can't thumb screw it off. And then this one is the NATO handle, and so basically I would just release this lever here and I can slide the handle up and down or take it off completely if I want. And I think that's a really good setup. I think that's a really good setup because if I want to add another adapter to the side, say I want to take this battery right here, and small rig has a battery adapter or a battery plate for this battery, which is the small rig NP F970 battery, which is the Sony battery. But so then I could be able to attach that battery plate to the side of the camera, put the battery on, and then plug this 10,000 milliamp battery via the USB port that's right here directly into the back of the Osmo Pocket 3. That way, when I'm shooting time-lapse videos, I know that my power is never going to run out. And so there are just like different pieces and things like that that I think could make using this this whole kit kind of really, really awesome. The other side, the other piece that I think is really cool is that both of these handles here have a hot shoe or a cold shoe mount on it, which means now I can attach my DJI Mic 2, which you should 100% get with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 because, well, we'll get into that. But not only can I attach my Mic 2 to the top of the handle, but if I want to add something else to the top of this handle, I can, whether it be like an LED light or something else that I want to add. You know, I have that ability to do that now, which I think is really cool. And so, you know, just kind of the whole functionality of this kit and the way everything works together, I think the modularity of it, I think serves a lot of different needs for me. And I'm really excited to kind of use this for my purposes. Now, obviously, maybe a con per se would be that it's obviously a bigger kit than just the small rig mini tripod that I had that I was using for my handle, which I still might actually end up using on this every now and then, depending on what I'm doing or where I'm at, or what purpose that I'm using this for. And I kind of have to like think about that ahead of time. Or I might even be able to attach a monopod to the bottom of it and lift it up and use it in those cases. So obviously the kit itself is now a bit bigger than just that one piece. But I think ultimately it's going to end up serving my purposes a lot better. The one thing that I'll say that is a little bit of a placebo and not really necessary is the two handles. I think you'd be able to get away with just one handle and do it perfectly fine. I added the second handle because I like the feeling that it gives me of it being more stable. Even though I know that there's in-camera stabilization, even though I know that the gimbal and the gyro has its own stabilization, I like the feeling of having more stabilization. That way, when I'm shooting, I can feel better about my movements. I can slow myself down. I feel like the camera is always going to be centered because I have the two handles. And that's just kind of like a personal placebo that doesn't actually make a difference, but it makes me feel better about what I'm shooting or how I'm shooting with it. And so, yeah, so we have the small rig mini handle, the small rig NATO handle, the small rig Osmo Pocket 3 adapter. And then this is a small rig cold shoe mount, which just screws in the top of the handle here. And then this guy actually is also a little small rig piece, and he is just a articulating arm, I guess, so you can put anything on it and articulate it back and forward. I find that this is really good for LED lights, and so I have this on. Well, I have this screwed into the bottom of my small rig RM120 most of the time. So if I'm putting it on my Sigma here, or if I put it on this guy, or if I just have it on a tripod or something, it works out really well because it does have the 1/4 inch socket on the bottom, so I can screw it onto a light stand, and then articulate that light back and forth if I want to, or whatever else that I end up putting it on. So that kind of is the modular functionality of this whole piece. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the camera itself and address a few things. I made a claim yesterday that wasn't actually necessarily true. Not because I was trying to lie to you guys, I just didn't have enough information. And yesterday I said that this camera can shoot 6K, and it cannot. Or it cannot natively. And what I mean by that is the native resolution of the camera is HD 1080p, 2K, which is, I think it's actually like 2.7K or something like that. There's a 3K option, and then there's a 4K option. And I said that it could shoot 6K. It could potentially shoot 6K if you added like an Atomos Ninja, because the Atomos Ninja is a cinema DNG recorder. And if they communicate together, and that is a huge if, because I don't know if they do, but if they were to communicate together, you could even technically potentially shoot up to 9K with the Atomos Ninja. But I don't know that they can communicate, so don't quote me on that. But that would be really the only way that you would be able to get it up to 6K, 8K, 9K. Now, on the concept of shooting anything higher than 4K, even 4K, I would say, is a little bit unnecessary. And the reason I say that is because 9 out of 10 screens that you're going to view any content on, whether it be your laptop, your phone, your Nintendo Switch, right? Most of those are only going to be able to render a 2K video. So having all of that extra information, file size of 4K, 6K, 8K, it doesn't really make a difference because that screen that you're viewing that content on can't even output that resolution anyway. This is why the standard resolution for most YouTube videos is 1080p at 24.97 frames per second. And sure, it's cool to click on the quality options and see it, 1080p, 1440p, 2170p, or 2160p. and all those. But again, unless the device that you're watching it on can actually output those resolutions, clicking on those options doesn't really make a difference, because it's not going to change the quality of the video that you're viewing, because you can't view those resolutions anyway. And so I would say that when you're recording content, unless you know that you're going to be recording like cinematic content, your everyday vlogs, your everyday vacation videos, your everyday restaurant videos or real estate videos or whatever it is that you're shooting, I would say just shoot it at 2K, because it honestly doesn't matter in the end of the day. I mean, sure, you don't want to shoot at 360p or 720p, like that is obviously too low resolution. But anything higher than 2K, most screens are going to be able to output it anyway. And so that's kind of that piece. The other piece that, I wanted to talk about really briefly is just the modes within the camera itself. And yesterday, we had kind of talked about the different modes. So there's a panorama mode in here. To me, in my logical brain, it says, you can only use the panorama mode in landscape view. I don't know if that's actually true. You could probably use it in portrait view, because I know that you can select the panorama mode in portrait view. But whatever. So there's the panorama mode. There's your typical photo mode, which you can take photos up to 4K. I've taken a couple different photos on this camera, and I think they're wonderful. They're really great for taking those photos of food in restaurants. And it does output really nice quality images. You obviously then have your video mode. There's a low light compensation video mode, which I don't quite understand, right? Because the original video mode actually has pretty decent low light compensation. And so to have a dedicated mode for low light doesn't really make sense to me, because my thought would be like, well, why not just add the low light capabilities of that dedicated low light mode into the regular video mode, and then you just have one video mode? Why do we need the extra low light compensation mode? I don't understand that, but I mean, it's there, whatever. And then you have your slow motion mode, which the settings on the slow motion mode, I don't really quite understand. Your typical slow motion frame rate is going to be 120 frames per second, right? That's pretty common. In the slow motion mode, you have the option to do 4x 120 or 4x 100. And if one is 120 frames per second and one is 100 frames per second, what is the purpose of them both being 4x? I mean, it doesn't make a difference if I'm on 4K or if I'm on 2.7K or if I'm on 1080p. They both say 4x 120, except on 1080p, it gives me 8x 240 frames per second, which is really interesting. And then 2.7K, you only get the 4x 120 frames per second. So I'm trying to better understand what the 4x is for. I mean, obviously, to me, it would be 4 times, but I don't actually know what that means. So questions. These are all just like little questions that I have in my head about the camera. So that's pretty much it. And another comment and kind of a gripe a little bit, is when you are using this camera to be able to take the images or videos off of the camera, you have to use the DJI Mimo app. Unless you have an adapter for the micro SD card, you have to use the DJI Mimo app, which is not necessarily a problem, but I wish there was a desktop version, because I professionally edit and cut video. And so when I'm color grading a video or something like that, I want to do it on my computer. I don't want to have to be forced to do it on my iPad or on my phone or whatever. And so it would be nice if there was a way that I could sync the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 with my laptop or my desktop so that I could just directly transfer those videos into Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve or whatever video editing app it is that you use. That would be really nice. The other thing, and you need to know this about this camera if you buy this camera, you have to get an SD card for it. It does not have internal storage. I did not know this when I bought this camera. And so I bought this camera, it arrived, it showed up. I was gonna take it out to a shoot that I was working on and do, you know, some slow motion and some BTS with it. And I didn't know that it needed a dedicated SD card. And so I get out there to my shoot and I like try to use it and record it. And it's like, oh, it doesn't have an SD. And I was like, oh, shit. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe like every other camera that's out there, I can plug in an external hard drive and just record directly to that hard drive. No. And so my request and slight comment to DJI is maybe you can make a firmware update that allows me to plug in a external hard drive and record directly to that external hard drive. And then I could even mount that external hard drive to the back of the cage or something and then plug it directly into the USB port. And then I'm recording to, you know, a 4 terabyte drive versus a 512 gigabyte or 1 terabyte, you know, SD card. And that would also then make it so much easier to get the footage off of that device because it's already on the external hard drive onto my machines so that I can then edit those videos properly. Not to say that the DJI Mimo app isn't a great way to edit videos. It's just lacking in some things, and it's a really great way to quickly edit a video, but not really fine tune or color grade those videos. And so, you know, those are kind of my little things. But all in all, I think this is an absolutely fantastic kit. I think if you are a content creator, if you're a vlogger, if you shoot restaurant videos, if you shoot real estate videos, if you shoot vacation videos, if you shoot whatever it is that you shoot, this is the camera that you should get, because this whole cage, 2 handles, DJI Mic 2, extended battery grip, all of that together is like $700. And I think that is a very reasonable price for a video camera that shoots 4K. Because sure, you could go get a budget Canon mirrorless camera, but then you don't get the mic, then you don't get the handles, then you don't get the modularity of the cage and everything else, where you could just buy this and you get a dedicated portrait mode, you get a dedicated landscape mode, you get dedicated settings options for each one of those modes. You can create custom settings for each one of those modes. And you get all the other different functions and features of this camera. And that to me is just like, it's a no-brainer. I don't know why you wouldn't get this camera. And so for me, every single video that I will shoot from here out, whether it be product videos, whether it be real estate or restaurant videos, whether it's vacation videos, whether it's BTS videos, every video that I will shoot from here out will actually be on this DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I've made that commitment because I recognize the sheer quality and value of this setup. So anyway, if that's not enough convincing or explanation as to why you should get this camera, I don't know what else to say to you. But this to me is the perfect setup. Really, honestly, genuinely. And I'm pretty excited to use this. Also, and small quick note, you can run a USB-C cable from the back of this battery grip to the side of the Mic 2 and actually charge the Mic 2 straight from that battery grip. There you go. If it doesn't get more modular than that, honestly. And so anyways, all right, guys, my name is Justin. Again, I am the owner of the Bald Dude Photography Studio here in New York City. And if you are here in New York City and you want to meet up and you want to go, you know, trudge around the city and shoot people, photograph people, not shoot people. We're not shooting anyone. But if you want to photograph, you know, street photography, you want to hang out, you want to get to know other photographers, reach out. I am always willing to meet new photographers. So anyways, all right, guys, have a awesome rest of your evening.